Apple has filed an appeal to the International Trade Commission's decision to ban U.S. sales of certain Apple Watches. This after the Biden administration declined to overturn the ban, which went into effect today. This ban affects the Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 models. They were banned after the ITC found Apple infringed on blood oxygen saturation technology patented by the health tech firm Masimo. Let's bring in now senior reporter Addie Robertson. She covers technology at The Verge for more insight on this legal battle. Addie, thank you for joining us. First off, this is a pretty unusual situation. So let's start with why Apple Watches have been taken off the shelves in the United States.
This is part of a long-running fight between Apple and the health tech company Masimo, which alleges that basically Apple stole its technology for the blood oxygen saturation sensor that it introduced a few generations ago. And so it's filed lawsuits in a couple of venues and complaints, and then the ITC, as you mentioned, ended up agreeing that Apple infringed on patents and says that Apple can no longer import two of its watch models.
So, Addie, the ban prevents Apple from selling the watch, but what about other retailers like Best Buy or Target?
Right now, those can still sell it. The ban is an import ban and a sales ban for Apple, but it does mean that when those supplies run out, it could become much harder to get it. And if you need something like a repair for one of the covered models, then Apple's not going to be able to send you a replacement as easily.
Yeah, good point. Well, with Christmas being just yesterday, many people who got a watch already have it. So, I mean, is this just a PR nightmare, or will this really affect the bottom line for Apple?
If Apple has to significantly redesign or otherwise somehow change the Apple Watch, that could sort of throw a wrench in its supply chain. The most likely outcome is that it either ends up working around it with some sort of software fix potentially, or it settles with Massimo.
So, I mean, if you already got the Series 9 or the Ultra 2 Apple Watch and it breaks, you were saying you could encounter some problems potentially, right? I mean, can you get it fixed or replaced if this ban were to hold up?
At this point, it would definitely become more complicated. There are probably ways that you would be able to fix it. And Apple has said that it is committed to making these available again. It's saying in its appeal that it's got a redesigned version and it wants a stay to see if that one passes muster. Of course, Massimo is saying, no, this is a hardware problem. It's much more fundamental. Apple can't just write a little bit of code and get out of this. But we'll see how this ends up working at the ITC.
Right. Well, Apple filed an appeal earlier this afternoon, in fact, requesting an emergency stay on the decision for at least 2 more weeks. How long, though, do you think this legal battle could really drag out?
The ITC complaint isn't the only legal battle on the table, even, so we're likely to see this drag out for some time. The question is whether Apple's going to find a way to work around this patent dispute, or whether it's going to rely on the legal process, or whether it's going to try to cut some kind of settlement with Massimo.
Okay. We will stay tuned. Addie Robertson, senior reporter at The Verge, thank you for joining us tonight with your insights.